All right, so the 20th today. I took a loss, but I shouldn't have. Okay, it was a technical mistake. It wasn't really a psychology mistake. I took the loss, locked out. Right, it happens. Day's done. But yeah, so coming to the day, for me, the clear draw is this high. Right, we're just very bullish price action, and we're very close to it. Right now, what we do straight away off open is we come down just before open, we sweep out this low, right, which I was actually looking for this to potentially be a protected low and then give us longs like from here, for example. Obviously this was pre-market, so we don't take it, but like something like that did look quite nice. But we come and sweep this low, right? Now obviously, yes, I wanted this to be a protected low and we did just sweep it, but you know, we swept it. Well, obviously this low was already in a 15-minute gap, so realistically I wasn't really looking for this low to be protected because it's done nothing new, right? This low had already tapped that 15-minute gap and swept, you know, this low. This low didn't do anything new, so we trade away from it. Obviously with the PRB model you're not looking for longs here because, like I say, this isn't a protected low, because if this was a protected low, and that means that should have been a protected low, and that wasn't. So, you know, this isn't going to be, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Because it didn't do anything new. We then put in this low. We then try and take this high, right? But same thing, right? This one did do something new, and what it did was it edged this hourly gap, and it made an SMT with ES. So ES tapped the hourly gap and swept that low, right? So I was looking for longs from this one, okay? But we don't get any, right? We get this 30-second displacement. I marked out this range. We tapped the 0.5 nicely, traded high, got the CISD, but just did not get an entry, right? And at that point, the RR is pretty bad. It's like 1, okay? So it would have been a break even, if anything, anyway. But no longs there, right? Then what I see is I'm still bullish, okay? Now, the reason I'm still bullish is because, yes, right, like this is a high. We swept this high, and then we traded lower. So if I'm targeting this high, it technically is high resistance, but I think the bias is bullish, right? And the reason I think that is because we're trading bullish, and in my mind, we didn't want to come back to this low because we had an SMT with this low, right? Obviously we didn't tap the hourly, but we had an SMT with it, okay? So I thought that was enough. Obviously that was incorrect, okay? And not just hindsight saying that's incorrect, looking back as well, I think that is pretty silly because yes, this is a high resistance high technically, and it's fine to trade towards it, but the higher time frame didn't do anything new. And what I mean by that is we swept this high, then I'm expecting a 1 minute rebalance and then a long. That doesn't really make sense because if we've swept this high, right, this is a protected high, like a short term one, so we need to do something new, which is obviously tap this hourly gap and then we can trade higher, right? So I shouldn't have even been looking to long where I did. Anyway, I did. So what I saw was that we displaced this range. I marked out the range. We come back into 705. We rejected quite nicely, 30-second inverse, which is obviously annoying because that was very clean, which is why what also helped me take it. And it lost. What we then do is we then sweep this low, which obviously, like I say, it was a protected low until we sweep this high, and now it's kind of a low resistance low, if that makes sense. I know it's a bit confusing, but yeah, because obviously it was the SMT, but then after we've took this high, it's not anymore, right? This is the more recent protected high, so we want to do something down here before we go higher, right? It's kind of what it's like. And obviously this wasn't significant anyway. Like, yes, it's an SMT, but it'd be better if it obviously retraced, tap the hourly gap, right? So what we do is we come down, sweep this low, tap the hourly gap. Obviously we then get this nice long IFVG setup. Obviously I'm locked out at this point, so I'm not looking to trade anything, but this is obviously the trade, the 2R trade. That's nice, but what we would obviously look for is a rebalance and then a long, which I do not actually think we get. Actually, we do get it. So what we do is, yeah, well, we tap the 0.5 and then we get this 1 minute inverse. So what you would have done, the actual good long today would be to take this, target 2R. Obviously, this hasn't played out yet, but once we close above this CISD, that is where I would go break even on this position, right? That is the correct PRB model. Now, there was also short, which was after we swept this high. We pulled back, we retraced, we rebalanced this range, right, the 0.5. And we then got this CISD, which we could have shorted here. But this literally delivers us to that hourly gap, which is what you would have wanted, and then it reverses, but that's not 2R, right? You would have actually got break even if you're looking for 2R. And the reason you got break even is because we traded lower, rebalance, and then trade lower. So this is a valid break even at this high here. And obviously once we take the hourly draw, if you're holding for 2R, you are just hoping that it will go down that extra bit, so that you would have got break even there. But to that hourly gap, that was valid, right? And then now, obviously this long is very, very valid. Obviously you would have had a bit of profit, and now you'd be in a bit of draw, or you'd be in less profit and you had a bit of drawdown. But like I say, once we get the CISD, that is where I'd go break even, and then we'll see. I'll pause the recording, I'll come back and see if this plays out for a win or a loss or a break even. But this trade does look really good. And yeah, I hope what you're trying to say about how, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say about how protected highs and lows are circumstantial. Like, this is a protected low because it made an SMT until we take this high, right? Now it's not protected low because we've took this high. So like, there's no, do you know what I mean? It's not like, because if it was a protected low, what, are we just never going to come back to it? No, do you know what I mean? It's done what it needs to do. It needed to deliver us to this high. It's done it, right? Now we don't really know what we're going to do. Like I say, I'm still bullish, so I'm looking for longs, but I'm using this low as if it's a protected low, but it's not anymore, right? And I am trading towards a recent protected high. But once we tap this hourly gap, we've now done something new. We've now rebalanced more of the range, right, of the higher time frame range. We've tapped into the discount PDA rate, and it now makes sense, right? It now makes sense that this wants to be a protected low and this wants to be our target, okay? We didn't get the CISD there. So yeah, I'm going to pause the recording and I'll come back and I'll show you if this trade works, because like I say, this is probably the best PRB model trade of the day. Well, the short was, but obviously doesn't deliver for 2R, which is unfortunate. But like, obviously, again, that's what I mean. Going for 2R in that situation is holding it past your draw on liquidity and just hoping, which is why it's not as valid as something like this long, where obviously, yes, you're going for 2R, but look, that's links up with this high unfilled 15-minute gap. There's a lot of room to go higher, right? So like I say, once we do the CISD, we'll be break even, and we will come back and we will see if it be a win, loss, or a break even. All right, so technically you would have got break even here, because obviously if you're entering off this IFVG, you get filled there. Pump up, rebalance, displace, CISD, dash your time to go break even. Now, obviously, right, you got to think about it like this. The low that rebalanced the range, the rebalanced protected low, didn't get ran, okay? Obviously, we would have wicked a break even and traded higher. Obviously, don't know if we would have hit TP yet, but it looks like we will. So you could have technically said, oh, you could have put it at that low, but I just think, especially because they're kind of equal lows, I feel like you would just go break even there. And that's fine. Right, today wasn't very clean, and that's okay. That's the thing. Like, I took a loss, right? And like I've said, was it the best trade ever and it was technically 100% accurate? No, but does it matter, right? No. The answer is no, because I didn't let it affect me. Okay, if I took a bad trade and then took another bad trade and then oversized and then blew the account, then it affects me. But at the end of the day, my P&L, right, obviously, yes, you're trying to take the best trades possible and you need to focus on the process, obviously, right? But the process and your P&L should be separate, right? For the process, for my journal, and for obviously this video, have I acknowledged that I did something wrong and that I could have potentially avoided this loss? Yes, right? But for my P&L, does it know the difference between losing 386 on some random shit setup or an A++ setup? No, it doesn't know, right? It's still the same. So as long as that's the same, then that's all I can do, right? Because I can't let... Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, if I take a bad trade, I can change my journal and I can try and improve from it and I can, you know, look, why was it bad? But I can't make my P&L change. So it is what it is. So I've just got to let it be what it is. And that's the thing. If I try to make that back, even if I did make it back, right, it's then not right because I shouldn't have done. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's today. Obviously, like I say, had two trading days on this account. 1 win, 1 loss, and I'm up literally 2%. So it's absolutely brilliant, right? Obviously, I went on a 3-day winning streak. This was the first loss, and it was just unfavourable PA. Obviously, we've got the news later on, so I knew it wasn't going to be great. But like I say, I like the setup. Looking into lifetime, I shouldn't have liked the setup. Realistically, I think I should have took this short. And what probably should have happened is I should have held for 2R, got edged, and then got annoyed that it literally ticked the draw on liquidity and then reversed, right? But obviously got break-evened. And that probably should have been my one trade for the day. Should have been a break-even day, but it is what it is. Like I say, it's a mistake, and I've learned from it, okay? So that's today.